Hi, Stephanie Apple here. I recently showed you a video where I unboxed some new stencils that I got from Joggles, the Dorothy collection by Elizabeth St. Hilaire. And I've been on a mission to make as many prints as I could with all of the different great combinations. And so I am showing you just a small snippet of a video that I posted recently where I used some really great luminous opera or hot pink and black and some pearl to make some awesome looking colorful backgrounds. And so I'll link to this video so that you can watch the full thing if you would like to, but just kind of an overview of what I got into and how I chose to use it. And so I am really excited to show you not only the backgrounds themselves, but what do you do with these backgrounds? I know a lot of people make a lot of gel prints and then the papers just kind of stack up and pile up. They're great for use on collages. I know that many artists will use them in art journals and a lot of other purposes, but I have found a love of making greeting cards. I have been making greeting cards for a little over 15 years now. And I started by using scrapbook paper as my backgrounds on the greeting cards. And I kind of used a collage technique to make those greeting cards when I first got started. I've always been a big fan of paper and cutting paper and art supplies. Then when I learned about the gel press about 5 years ago, I found that that was such a fantastic way to make my own unique artwork for the backgrounds of my greeting cards. And so stencils like these, Dorothy dots from Elizabeth St. Hilaire's new collection, make wonderful backgrounds because they're so cheerful. And I can see them being used for all sorts of fun celebratory reasons. And they also make really great themed cards. And so the polka dots that I'm making today, I think are going to make an awesome happy birthday background. And I'm showing you just, again, this clip because I want you to see the process itself. And again, you can look at the longer video if you want to. But a really important step right there was for me to add some texture to my black on the gel plate. I think that one of the really cool things about gel printing is that you can add a lot of texture. And when you send somebody a greeting card in the mail, they can really tell that it is a unique, one-of-a-kind piece of artwork that you are giving to them that nobody else has. And the texture that you can put on the gel press really makes it that special experience for the person that you're sending it to. And so again, that's why I love to put so much texture on my gel prints and have a ton of fun with it. I also like to use expensive art supplies. Hey, I'm going to be sending these to friends and family and coworkers that I really care about. And so the nice part about gel printing is you don't really have to use that much. So you saw when I was rolling out the black paint, there's still a ton of black paint left on that brayer. And so on my next round, I'm going to continue to use the paint that's left behind. So really, you don't have to use a ton of art supplies when you are using your gel press. A little bit goes a long way and can give you that great, unique look that you are going for, hopefully. And so there's the big reveal about to come so that you can see an example of what this background looks like. And I made a bunch of them, but here's just a quick example of the black and pink background. Don't you think that's going to be a perfect birthday card? I do. All right, so let's do it. So now I have a stack of papers that I printed from these particular stencils. And what I'll do is I cut down all the edges until I get a stack. And then I'll decide, typically I'll decide between an A2 card or an A5 card. So a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 is your A2, or a 5 by 7 would be the other common size. And so the A2s are typically what I will do unless I am so in love with that background and I want it to be really large. But this time I cut them all down to an A2. And so when I do that, I'll actually cut it. I'll cut the gel print just a little bit smaller so there's a white background. And I'm also deciding what I want to print my sentiment on. So that circle that I showed you is from Sizzix. And I can link to that product for you in the notes if you want to check it out. But I've just got some white cardstock. I'm using, I think, Nina bright white cardstock, and I'm using my Sizzix Big Shot, and I'm just going to roll it through there a couple of times. And there's a nice little dotted border around the circle that gives it a finished touch, makes it look a little extra special. And I can get 2 out per these are all A2 sized white cards that I just have cut out and ready to go for any sort of crafting needs. And I'm going to cut out, I think about 16 of these is how many I decided that I had once I cut down all of that paper. And these stamps are from Honeybee, and they are Happy Everything. And so you have some really good options on what you're trying to celebrate. And so I was able to pick a beautiful happy birthday. And then I broke out my most incredible stamping tool invented, the MISTI, which makes creating bulk greeting cards really easy. Sometimes it's hard to line up your stamps, and sometimes you don't get the right amount of pressure the first time, so this helps. But my stamp is too large for this print, for this cutout. I had not planned for that. And so what I decide to do is I just flip it over, and I'm okay with that little decorative edge going off the paper. So I'm just going to print upside down, no problem at all. Next, I'll print to you underneath birthday. So I'm placing that, and then I will place the stamp that says happy above birthday. So eventually it's going to say happy birthday to you, and it's upside down, but it is easy to line up on the MISTI because there are grid lines on that clear part that I'm folding over. And so I can kind of eyeball whether or not I've got it right. Next up is Archival ink in jet black. This is my absolute favorite, and I do keep the re-inkers handy in case I ever need to add more ink to my pad. Now, when you do this for the first time with each print, you're really probably not going to get a print that you're in love with the first time, which again is why the MISTI is so brilliant, because it gives you the opportunity to add more ink to the stamp and then press it down again. See, that's not a great print, but that's okay. I'm going to add more ink to my stamp. And because I have a magnet holding that circle down, I'm not going to have any problems with ghost shadowing prints. It's going to go ahead and print just as I want it to. And I'm still not satisfied with how dark it is. I keep that handy cloth there because sometimes you'll get ink in other places, and you really want to make sure that you keep everything that is not supposed to have ink on it clean. And so that's really handy when doing multiple prints. And so there, I'm satisfied with that now. Looks plenty dark and easy to read. Happy birthday to you. And wow, that's just perfect. I love it. Goes really great with that card. And so then next, once I have a stack of those printed, I'll move on to adhesive. And I love the Tombow Extreme adhesive. I can't say it enough. It is the best, and it will really work well as I'm sticking down my multimedia paper, which is a little bit thicker than some other papers that you might use. Like the scrapbook paper I used to use was pretty thin, and I probably would not have needed an adhesive this thick, but I do for a print, for a type of paper that has more paint on it. And so then there's a nice little white border around the gel print that I cut out, and the polka dots are really standing out on that beautiful background. And so I will carry on with that. I'm loving it. I love how it works. So I'm going to speed it up and just kind of go through the process. And I hope you enjoy watching me assemble these cards in fast motion. And now for the best part, the big reveal. Once I have adhesive everywhere that I need it to be, it's time to go ahead and put the sentiment on the front of the card. I chose top and center of the front, and I thought that would be a great focal point for the greeting card. And it's easy enough just once you have everything ready to go and you've batched your work to assemble that final product. And I really enjoy all of the different variety that I got from these stencils because while I really only used 3 main colors, I got a ton of different color combinations and different looks with these stencils. And I can only imagine, with more time playing with these great stencils, all of the different color combinations that I could come up with. But what I also love the most, you guessed it, is all of the texture on the back of the greeting cards, or on the actual front of the greeting cards. So you can feel the black really, really well, but also the white has quite a bit of shimmer in it from the pearlescent that I used. And then in the pink and the Luminous Opera, I added in the coarse iridescent pearl. And so that gave it a fair amount of gritty texture too. Now, I've seen people put glitter on greeting cards, and I like this method better because it's not as messy. I didn't have to deal with glitter everywhere. And the texture from all of these different golden paints, they roll on like paint and they don't come back off. So if I run my thumb over some of that texture, it's not going to flake off or make a mess like glitter might, depending on how you add it to your cards. But I do add a little extra pizzazz after I get all of these cards put together. I decided, what's a birthday without some more bling? And so I found some different ways that I could add some more here. So I'll show you that too. But you can see some of that shimmer on the background. It's just beautiful. All right. So I decided that I would grab my Gina K Connect glue. If I am going to use a wet glue, that's one of my favorites. And then I have these Nuvo, they're crystals. And so there's a really great tool that you can use to help you place things like sequins or gems that are smaller, because that tool has a slightly tacky side. And so you can pick things up with it and then put your glue dot down where you think you want the bling on your greeting card on your surface, and then use the tool to actually pick up the gem or the sequin and place it down onto the greeting card. And so that's a handy way to place without getting a ton of glue on your fingers. I know I've mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of wet glues, but the Gina K holds really well and it's not messy. And I also found that it doesn't get all stuck in the tube. Sometimes glue, you use it, and then when you come back to it, it's all hard and stuck, and you have to take, a sharp point or a needle and dig at the tip to try to get the glue to come back out. But I've really never had that problem with the Gina K Connect glue, and that's why I'm such a big fan, because it's just honestly ease of use, right? Nobody has time to be messing around with a tube of glue. You want to get crafting and make your products and get them out the door. And so that's what I'm doing here too. So I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe to my channel, and I appreciate you. Have a great day.